Most diets fail because of hunger, whether it's untracked snacks creeping in or just outright killing the deficit. These three strategies are the things that made the biggest difference for me and allowed me to stay in a big enough deficit for long enough to get to 10% body fat. And the third one is something that pretty much everyone overlooks, but it's the easiest one to implement and will improve your life, not just your diet, so make sure you stick around for that one. The first strategy is mastering food volume. So not the calories and the energy, but the amount of actual food that you're eating within that. Volumizing your food means getting more physical food for the same or fewer calories, essentially more chews per calorie. Your stomach doesn't only recognise calories and energy, it also responds to volume and stretch. A large amount of food sends fullness signals to the brain regardless of the calorie count, so this is what we want to maximise. The foods that do this best are the high volume, low calorie foods, things like vegetables, salads, fruits, all the high fibre sources. You want a plate that looks like a big old meal, but it's only costing you like 300 calories. The flip side of this is liquid calories, so protein shakes, juices, smoothies, all the stuff that's labelled healthy and usually pushed towards people that are dieting. Drinking calories won't ease your hunger signals the way that eating does. Digestion actually starts with chewing. It lets your body know that food is coming. So when you drink a protein shake, you're missing the first step that triggers that process. So 10 minutes later, hunger's barely moved. Whereas if you ate the same amount of protein from something like chicken, let's say, your body knows it's there straight away and the process starts leading to a noticeable decrease in hunger. I've not drank a protein shake in years for exactly this reason. Every calorie that I consume when I'm dieting gets chewed, so it feels like I've actually eaten something, because half the battle is psychological. So even just feeling like you've eaten something is going to have a much bigger impact on your perceived hunger than any shake or drink ever will. Another easy way to volumize your food is to choose foods that you need to eat with a knife and fork. It sounds trivial, but it's not, because eating with a knife and fork slows the process down even further. So it gives a bigger chance for satiety signals to register before the meal is finished. Whereas foods that you eat with your hands, so things like sandwiches, wraps, essentially anything that you grab on the go, tends to be less voluminous. You're going to eat it faster, and ultimately it's going to be less filling calorie for calorie. Think of how much faster you can eat a slice of bread than, say, a bowl of rice. And eating this way also has the added bonus of increasing fibre. The voluminous foods tend to have way more of it. And not only will it help you to feel fuller, but it's also going to keep you regular, if you know what I mean. But the last thing you want when dieting and you're hungry is your weight not dropping because you've not been to the toilet. It gives you just another reason to question if the hunger's worth it and consider binning it off altogether because you feel like it's not working. More consistent digestion means accurate readings and a clearer picture of what's actually going on. And although you don't want to drink calories, you do want to make sure that you still drink plenty, because hydration is going to play a big role in feeling full, because a lot of people tend to mistake thirst for hunger. So let's just remove the confusion by removing the thirst. So make sure that you're drinking at least 1 litre of fluids per 25 kilo or 50 pounds of body weight. You want an extra litre for training or on hot days, and if you start to feel hungry between meals, drink some more to make sure it's not just thirst. Equally, use things like coffee and sugar-free drinks like Pepsi Max and Monster Ultras tactically, so it's something with some flavour when your cravings hit without spending any calories on it. And you can also count these towards your overall fluid intake. It doesn't have to be just water. And finally, be sure to salt your meals too, which this goes against what everyone else believes because sodium gets so demonized, but making sure that you've got enough sodium helps the body to retain fluid properly so that you actually stay hydrated. Most people start dieting, switch to single ingredient voluminous foods and cut out junk food, which in turn massively cuts out the sodium intake without even realizing. And salt is one of the best flavor enhancers, so it just makes everything better, so make sure you're getting enough. The second strategy is planning your food in advance. Before you're hungry, before you're trying to kill cravings with a quick and convenient meal or whatever's in the kitchen that doesn't require cooking, we want to find a few tasty and still convenient meals that are easily repeatable. But you're not going to do that when you're hungry and you just want to shove anything in your face. Quick and convenient doesn't necessarily mean no cooking. It may mean just cooking all of your chicken in advance so that you just have to make some rice at lunchtime. We're trying to remove as much friction as possible so there's less decisions to be made in a state of high hunger. So you don't have the opportunity to choose the higher calorie options to dip down the volume in favour of a tuna sandwich because you can have it ready in 3 minutes. In order to do that, there's going to have to be some planning in advance, maybe even some food prep, but it's that planning that's going to stop the decisions that you'll regret and keep you feeling as full as possible to make the whole process as easy as possible. It's like drinking a pint of water after a night of partying. You may not feel like doing it at the time, but hungover you will thank drunk you tomorrow. Make all of the decisions before you're hungry. Don't just plan to resist better, just remove the decisions entirely. You will thank yourself tomorrow and in a few weeks when you're starting to get better results. Make sure if you're going to work, you're only taking the food that you need and the food that you've planned. If the higher calorie option isn't there, you can't choose it. It's much easier to be disciplined in the planning than it is in the decision making when you've got that little hunger gremlin that's sat on your shoulder trying to convince you that it's not such a bad idea to just get a Snickers instead. When you plan it, make sure it's realistic to your normal day, not an ideal day on paper. Think about, when do you normally get hungry? When do you eat with your family? What does your schedule actually look like? And then plan around those things, not around what some generic advice says that your day should look like. Ignore the 6 meals a day guidance. Ignore always eating breakfast. Stick to the plan that fits around your existing life. The plan that you can stick to always beats the perfect plan on paper. And your current eating schedule is probably the one that works best for you, the times that you already eat. That's what your body's used to, so build the deficit around that schedule. Don't restructure your entire life to fit around the diet. Fit the diet around your life and suddenly you're removing a lot of friction. And that's the approach that I use with every single client that I work with, because the ones who try to overhaul everything at once are usually the ones that fall off the fastest. The ones who keep their existing schedule and just manage the food within that, they're the ones who stick to it the longest, and in turn, they're the ones who get the best results. The third strategy, the one that will improve every single aspect of your life, is to sleep more. Yeah, it is that simple. Underslept is considered 6 hours or less, and the effect that that has on the body is huge, whether you feel it or not. But poor sleep raises ghrelin, which is your hunger hormone, and that is irrespective of food intake. A single night of poor sleep measurably increases hunger the next day, regardless of what you eat. And it's also going to decrease your NEAT, so all of the calories that you burn outside of the gym, outside of exercise, but without you realizing it. So not your steps, because they're likely tracked and you've probably got a target, but things like your hand movements, fidgeting, all the little things that add up to more calories burnt through the day. And on top of that, it's also going to compromise your decision making. So you're tired, hungry, you've moved less, and you're more likely to break your diet. Consistently undersleeping while dieting, so getting 6 hours or less, is just doing it in hard mode. You're adding friction to every single part of your day and you're just decreasing the chances of you actually seeing it through. Is staying up for another hour Netflix really worth risking your entire result for? And think about it practically. When you're asleep, you're not thinking about how hungry you are. So the more you sleep, you get less hours spent thinking about hunger and managing the deficit. And the hours that you are awake, you're going to be less hungry because your ghrelin is going to be lower. Aim for 8 hours of sleep, you'll create a bigger deficit, you'll be in a better mood, and the whole thing will just be so much easier. You won't be waking up as hungry, and the chances of you making it to 10% just increase massively. It's something that I see with clients consistently. And I know it sounds too easy when every other coach is telling you to do more steps, more supplements, more movement, more training. But that's bricks and mortar. Good recovery, the sleep, in this instance, is the foundation. Everything else is going to come on top of that. And if the foundation is poor, then everything else is just going to have a massively limited effect. So to summarize, you want to be volumizing your food. Big meals, small calories, and staying hydrated. Make sure you plan your food in advance and get more sleep. And these are not just little tips or hacks, they're removing the friction between you and being able to stay in a deficit for long enough to see extreme results. These can be the thing that make the difference between you getting the result and not getting the result. I've also put a link in the description to my free deficit calculator. You can put your details in, it'll ask you more than just the standard height, age and weight, and it'll help you to build a deficit that will actually work for you if you implement these strategies. And make sure you do the usual like and subscribe, because there will be more like this coming.